Good evening. I'm Deborah Moore, the AP Fine Arts Director for the O'Donnell Foundation. I'm honored to join each of you in the recognition of the 4 outstanding 2017 O'Donnell Foundation Excellence in Arts and Music Theory Scholarship awardees, Colin Chan, Jessie Tan, Nicole Wojtania, and Justin Yang. We're deeply grateful to Edith and Peter O'Donnell and the O'Donnell Foundation for their generous support in providing each of the exemplary AP Fine Arts Grant seniors with the financial assistance of $20,000 to attend and graduate from the college or university of their choice. We wish to thank the Communities Foundation of Texas for their assistance in facilitating the ODF scholarships. And we're deeply grateful to Elizabeth Leiser and Katie Kuhl of CFT, who worked with Serena Rich and the Excellence in Arts Scholarship Committee members, Hong Bass, Kathy Bishop, and Harvey Mitchell, to select our 4 finalists. In 1994, the vision of Edith O'Donnell to financially support an AP incentive program for high school teachers and students in selected Dallas area school districts came to fruition. That vision grew to over 19,000 students nationally excelling over the past 23 years in the 3 College Board AP Fine Arts courses: Studio Art, Art History, and Music Theory. Based on the 2016 College Board AP exam results of scores 3, 4, or 5 to be considered qualifying, the Foundation's current grant schools hold the top 4 positions in the state ranking for comprehensive AP Fine Arts schools, and 8 current or former ODF grant schools make up the top 10 ranked schools. We know this would not be possible without each grant school's dedication and support of arts and music education. And we are grateful for the administrators, school board members, and teachers joining us this evening. We applaud the parents, family members, and friends who have nurtured and encouraged these young adults to aspire to be tomorrow's innovative leaders.
You'd be justified in wondering if I'm going to make it. So, my wife and I have been doing philanthropic things for a long time. And my interest is in science and engineering. Hers is in arts and music. So I'm going to fill in for her as best I can for a few minutes, but I want to tell you about her just a few minutes. At her 87th birthday party, which was in 2013, she counted up the philanthropic milestones, and from 1952 through 2012, she had successfully completed 28 major projects. This is one, but there are others. And I want to tell you just a little bit about her. I made up a list, and I've used it. First, she was the most often mentioned in remarks. She's the sweetest person I've ever known. But the other attributes listed were, and these I think are accurate: thoughtful, generous, polite, discreet, great sense of humor, optimistic, encouraging, sensitive, truthful, loving, friendly, loyal, honest, positive, creative, determined, dynamic, intelligent, and persistent, sincere, and warm-hearted. And I know all this because we've been married 64 years, so I know her pretty well, and that's my take on it. So I'll just say 2 things more. Edith has lived a purpose-driven life. She never stops thinking about the arts and the next big thing. So her central concept is to help make Dallas a center for creativity. So everything that Edith did over 60 some odd years was to improve the arts, and she had a spectacular career of supporting arts and music and the people in it. Thank you very much.
And now let's begin the awards presentation with Carrie Kerpak, AP Art History teacher at Plano East Senior High School, introducing Colin Chan.
I am honored and privileged that I am able to introduce Colin Chan this afternoon as a recipient for the 2017 Excellence in AP Art and Music Theory Scholarship. As many of you guys know, the art community is a very close-knit community, and I've been lucky enough to know Colin for 2 years as he was in my art history course last year. But getting a chance to see him be wildly successful in AP Studio Art, AP Art History, and AP Music Theory has been a joy, not just to myself, but to his other teachers. I also understand it's important to mention that there are many other teachers, instructors, advisors, and mentors who would love to stand here and sing Colin's praise. I'm just the lucky one that was asked to do it. But please know, Colin, that I've had a flood of response from your other teachers, all wishing that they could relay their experience enjoying having you as a student, all wishing you the best, and all congratulating you on your success, and most importantly, how proud they are of the young man that you are today. So it would be unfair for me not to mention some of Colin's many accomplishments, but please note this was not an easy task. One, in part because of the length of the list of things that he has done, and two, because Colin is one of the most humble individuals I've ever met in my entire experience as a teacher. It's quite difficult to get this young man to talk about himself, and when he does, he usually pairs his success with the help of his teachers, his family members, and his friends. But Colin has completed and passed with the high score 7 AP examinations and is currently enrolled in 6 more that he will take this year. He's actively involved in many groups, ranging from being a president of the National Honor Society to participating in volunteering much of his free time at places like medical centers and food pantries, all while holding a GPA that has placed him second in a graduating class of over 1,200 students, one of the largest in the state of Texas. So Colin's accomplishments range from AP Scholar with Distinction, Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, and Principal's Medal of Academic Achievement, as well as National Merit Scholarship Program Commended. However, he placed at the top of his list of awards as having his artwork displayed at the 1020 Art Gallery in downtown Plano. To quote Miss Whitey, Colin's AP drawing teacher, Colin is a student that goes above and beyond in his work, research, and technique. He not only is naturally gifted, but incredibly humble as well. I admire his quality and his quest for knowledge and determination to push through any setback he encounters while creating. I feel privileged to have had the opportunity to teach such a creative, intelligent, and kind individual, and she's very sorry she was not able to make it here tonight. Colin is also an accomplished pianist and violinist, playing these technically difficult instruments in both chamber and string orchestras. Mr. Pedigo, Colin's AP Music Theory teacher, has always referred to him as having an unassuming and steady personality. To find someone who possesses such creativity, intelligence, and talent, yet remains so humble, is very rare to find indeed. Not to downplay these amazing things that he has accomplished, but the one thing that always stood out to me in my experience with Colin is how kind he is. He is one of the most caring and compassionate students I've ever had the opportunity to work with. He is one of always a warm and friendly personality throughout the year and in the class, always willing to help others, and always treating those around him with the utmost respect. Never one to let downfalls, setbacks, or mistakes change his refreshingly positive outlook on life. Colin, all of your many awards, accomplishments, and accolades were hard-earned and truly deserved, and they will take you far in life. However, it will be your kindness that will make you unstoppable. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Colin Chan.
The English writer Oscar Wilde once wrote, "All art is quite useless." I disagree. For me, art has been a journey. Some of my earliest memories of my childhood are of me waddling about the cool halls of local art museums. Oblivious to the Monets, Renoirs, and Caravaggios around me, I would often get chastised for my rambunctious behavior. As I got older, I began to bring a sketchbook to the museums, just to pass the time. Little did I know that my hastily done and subpar renditions of the old masters would eventually become some of my very first art pieces. Music was another aspect. Jealous that family friends were getting piano lessons, I requested them as well. Piano lessons, piano practice, scales, etudes, recitals, and sonatinas soon became an integral part of my life. In middle school, I played the violin and fell in love with the orchestra and its close-knit community. Music theory helped bridge the gap between playing and understanding. It helped me develop the necessary skills to better appreciate the music that I had been playing my whole life. It's because of music theory that in church, much to the chagrin of my mother, I often find myself listening for the cadences than actually singing the hymns. If art and music tested my technical abilities, it was in art history that my intellectual thought was exercised. In art history, beyond the pure memorization required to study 250 works of art, I was also challenged to discern similarities and differences in which art developed across various time and culture. I was asked to view each successive piece of art as part of a larger narrative, and how specific pieces or movements mark turning points in history. As a lover of all things history and English, art history felt like the perfect conjunction of my multiple passions. In all this, art has given me a creative outlet, a chance to stretch my mind in ways not offered in any other study or class. Since my youth, my house has been cluttered with my art awards ranging from PIC Reflection Awards and Sonatina Festival trophies to solo and ensemble medals and vase awards. In the past year, I have received awards in Congressman Sam Johnson's Congressional Art Competition, the Scholastic Art and Writing Competition, and Texas Visual Arts Association's High School Art Exhibition. Out of the classroom, I'm involved in community service clubs like National Honor Society and National Arts Honor Society, and take much enjoyment in volunteering at the Methodist Richardson Hospital and my local food pantry. In the fall, I plan on attending Rice University while pursuing a double major in chemistry and art history. In the future, I hope to find a career in the medical field, all the while giving back to the art community who has always supported me. In conclusion, I would like to thank my parents and grandparents for always encouraging me and instilling in me an early interest in the arts with countless museum visits and music lessons. I would also like to thank my AP art teachers, Mrs. Kirpak, Mr. Pedigo, and Mrs. Whitey, as well as all my other past art and humanities teachers for always teaching, inspiring, and challenging me. Finally, I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. O'Donnell, the Communities Foundation of Texas, and the selection committee for believing in me and giving me this gracious opportunity. The arts have been a close friend of mine throughout my life, and while Oscar Wilde might disagree, I think all art is quite useful.
And now Douglas Derricott, AP Art History teacher at Plano West Senior High School, will introduce Jessie Tan.
All right. Well, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity here today to talk about Jessie. Our sixth period class that he was in last year was pretty small. And so at first I was a little nervous about this because it didn't have the, I was afraid we wouldn't have the energy of a larger class. But eventually it got to feel kind of like a college seminar, not really a high school class. And a lot of that is because of Jessie playing a part in it. I'm sure he remembers a lot of things I wouldn't want you to remember, but he was very well respected in the class by the others. We had a very diverse group of students. And you know how you feel when you're in a class and there's someone there that, pretty much knows everything. And you're just like, you feel very intimidated, right? And with Jessie, there never was that feeling among the other students. We were always amazed at any answer he gave him to a question. I would sometimes give him the hardest questions, okay? And he did beautifully with them. You knew that, right? Yeah. And but the thing is the way he came off was just really, really nice, and the kids really responded to that, and so we became very close knit, and it was just a wonderful experience. Now, I could go on about his achievements, and trust me, there are plenty of them, and I can share them with you later if you want to know. I mean, they're amazing. But the thing that really caught my eye was that he was 7 times first place winner in the Chinese Calligraphy Advanced Division of the North Texas Cultural Talent Search. And that relates to his essay that he wrote about a Chinese brush. He said, "My old Chinese calligraphy brush with its sleek bamboo body and soft black hairs was a portal, an essential key to unlocking a deeper understanding of my culture, my family, and myself." And I thought, oh, fantastic, you know. This is something that we kind of hope for, that students understand that something so simple as a brush can really carry or resonate so powerfully, you know, that can carry such appreciation. It can kind of connect things, you know, connect people, suggest relationships, suggest connections from one generation to another. He goes on to say, "My parents' mentorship in the art of Chinese calligraphy, just as their parents had taught them, was a simple traditional way to hone self-discipline." And when I think of Jesse, I think of self-discipline. I do think of a brush. It's very elegant. It's very humble, modest, unassuming, but it does beautiful work. And to me, that sounds very much like Jesse. The object I respond to, and Jesse's heard this story before, is not as classy as a brush, unfortunately. It's a comb. In the Ozarks, there was a man once who didn't show up for the draft in 1917 for World War I. And when federal agents came to get him, he reached up for a comb on the shelf, and they thought it was something else. So the comb cost him his life. His wife married again. She married a man that became my great-grandfather. And so I have to ask the question, am I here because of a comb? I mean, a comb, a simple comb. It gives pause for thought that the world around us has a lot of lessons to teach us, and little things, very little things, can actually make us understand how fleeting life is, how transient life is, how little sometimes we take to just appreciate the very small things in life. He wrote, "Some of the more crucial traits my parents managed to pass on to me did not merely include exquisite handwriting or a passion for aesthetics. In fact, the portal of the calligraphy brush molded a newfound respect for tolerance, cultural awareness, and open-mindedness that I lacked before." Now, isn't that a good example of divergent thinking? When you can associate a brush with tolerance, cultural awareness, open-mindedness. You never know where that brush has been. What did it write? A proposal for marriage? What was it, a gift from someone precious? Where has it been? And what is it capable of doing? I think all of these things are things that I think very much of Jesse. When I think of the brush, I think of something that we might associate with the term that sometimes can be problematic, civilization. But at the heart of that term, civilization, is the word civil, civility. It's kind of hard in the classroom to teach civility when you see not so much of it outside the classroom. And with Jesse, there's hope, I think, for the future of civility and civilization by extension. He ends his essay by saying, "Now it always warms my heart to realize that the generational and cultural gaps between my parents and I seem to grow smaller, if only for a moment. every time I pick up the calligraphy brush. I hope, Jesse, that every time you look at art, not only will you think about me in some bit, but think about the experiences throughout your life, and it seems like you're on your way. The relationships between people and places and things. And that's why we bring the arts into people's lives. No matter what field you go into, we're hoping that it will make a difference to be observant for a world, to help a world who looks but doesn't see. And that's the real thing, that's the real gift that Jesse is going to, I think, give wherever he goes to school. I don't think he's decided quite yet. But wherever he goes, I know he'll make an impact in his modest, mild, unassuming way, one that won't put people off. Just like those kids in the 6th period, they learned a lot from Jesse, as did I. And so I really would like to introduce him to you now. So thank you.
The twin pillars of the fine arts and music have always played a large role in my life, ever since a very early age. As a young child, I remember sitting down at the dining room table and my mother patiently teaching me how to properly hold the calligraphy brush, and later on, even holding some pretty heated competitions with my siblings in order to see whose skills were the more refined. As for music, violin and piano were my 2 instruments of choice, and in the car, more often than not, the radio station was constantly being switched to Classical 101.1. For me, music and the fine arts are ways to sort of tap into the hidden wells of expression and potential that everyone has deep within them. Some of the main tenets I've taken away as a student heavily involved in the fine arts include a spirit of creative innovation, a willingness to take risks, and an avid desire to tackle a rigorous course load. My instructors for my fine arts courses have frequently challenged me to develop my own train of independent thought and to hone my sense of intellectual curiosity. Whether it be through analyzing potential motives behind a piece of contemporary artwork or puzzling out the correct chords and harmonies in a musical composition, such stimulating courses have really served and encouraged me to foster an ambitious mind that looks to the future. Participating in the Young Masters Art History exhibition last year, which is also sponsored by the O'Donnell Foundation, was definitely one such unforgettable experience. As one of the finalists, I was actually invited to go down to the Dallas Museum of Art and actually got the opportunity to discuss artwork with some of the interns that were working there. I even had the rare chance to peruse the DMA's private collection of research in order to sort of improve my essay. So that was definitely something that really stuck with me. Being able to see my work displayed in the concourse of the DMA at the very end of the exhibition was an experience that was both simultaneously exciting and extremely humbling. Outside of the fine arts, I've also taken several other AP classes. By the end of my senior year, I will have taken 16 in total, including AP Art History and AP Music Theory. I'm also pretty active as president of Plano West Junior World Affairs Council, which is a club that deals with sort of familiarizing students with things like current events and foreign policy. Additionally, I've also conducted summer research at NASA's Johnson Space Center down in Houston, where I got to work with engineers and see firsthand how they sort of incorporated both the aesthetics of fine arts in their designing alongside engineering principles to sort of improve their projects. Like Mr. Derricott said, although I'm not 100% sure right now, I will most likely be attending Johns Hopkins University in the fall to study biomedical engineering. And I think that being able to examine ideas, thoughts, and works from an analytical standpoint, which I've done in music theory and in art history, is a skill that will be useful not only in college, but long afterwards as well. In an increasingly multidisciplinary world, the growing presence of science and technology in our society will undoubtedly bring with it a joint influx of the fine arts. I know, for example, some of my friends who are computer science programmers, they often need an artistic eye when dealing with visual interfaces, and acoustic engineers would only benefit from having a strong musical background. In my case, I'm extremely interested in sort of exploring the aesthetics and designing of things like prosthetics and robotics. So I think that my experience in the fine arts will definitely help me to appreciate that when I go off to college. Lastly, I would like to thank Mr. Darracott for challenging me to view artwork from a different perspective and for helping me to appreciate the subtle nuances and intricacies that can be found and discussed in such works. I would also like to thank Mr. Sato for helping me to learn and decode the intricate language of music this year, and for helping me to develop what he so cleverly calls hearing eyes and seeing ears whenever I encounter a piece of music. Again, I am both humbled and thrilled to be one of the recipients of this scholarship, and I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank Communities Foundation of Texas, the O'Donnell Foundation, my parents, my teachers, and all others who are involved in supporting me on my path towards a college education.
And now, Akira Sato, AP Music Theory teacher at Plano West Senior High School, will introduce Nicole Wojtania. And Nicole, I hope you say your name, last name, for everyone so we can all hear how beautiful it sounds.
So today I have the pleasure and privilege of introducing Nikki to you. While I feel very fortunate to have a student like Nikki in my class, I'm just one of dozens of teachers she's had through her K-12 education. So I feel as though I speak today on all their behalfs. I would also like to acknowledge the people that have been in her life since even before K-12. I think accomplishments like this are truly a family endeavor. So I'd like to acknowledge, congratulate Nikki's parents who are here today. Excellent. Now, while I can list Nikki's many academic successes, the list of her accomplishments really only scratches the surface of who she is as a person. I don't mean to trivialize her impressive GPA, class rank, her being named a National Merit Finalist, and her flawless track record in what will be, I think, 16 AP classes by the time this year's done, right, as with Jessie. But in Nikki's case, I think it's what she's able to accomplish outside of the classroom that really, truly make her stand out. As a scientist, she's a two-time grand winner at the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair. She was recognized for her research in cellulose, nanocrystal, cholesteric materials. I had to ask her how to pronounce that. By the way, spell check would not let me put that word. I had to override spell check to put that word in. She is also headed back to that fair again this year for a second time in 2 years as a scientist. As an athlete, she's an Olympic caliber rhythmic gymnast who is a two-time Texas state champion. You can just imagine the physical, mental, and time commitments this alone represents. In the language arts, she's fluent in English, of course, Polish also, and also proficient in French through our AP classes. And I also like to add that she's also fluent in the language of music, currently taking AP Music Theory and having played violin for 7 years. In my class, to say that Nikki is a model student would be an understatement, huge understatement. She's always with me when I'm talking like this and even tries to laugh at my numerous failed attempts of humor. It is very clear that her other students, her peers, look up to her with respect. Even on various ear training tasks that we do, which sometimes are frustrating for students, it would be for me too. Nikki's always there, she applies herself, and is very patient with the understanding that improvements often happen incrementally through daily practice. Now, in preparation for this event tonight, I asked some of my peer teachers if they can offer some insight into how Nikki is outside of my class, the hour of the day that I get to see her. You have to understand, this time of year, when you email a teacher, you're just lucky to get like, yes, okay. That's what you'd expect. But in this case, almost every teacher responded with multiple paragraphs. It's like, I don't have time to read all that. So as much as I would like to share every word they said, here are some highlights. And you get to tomorrow when you go back to school, Nikki, figure out who said what. Maybe one. Nikki is the kind of student who reminds me why I took up teaching. And teachers don't say things that lightly. Another teacher says, in my 21 years as a professional educator, Nikki ranks in my top 10 most gifted students I have ever taught or coached. Another teacher says, her commitment to excellence in all she does brings to mind Vince Lombardi's famous quote. So I'm quoting a quote now. The quality of a person's life is in direct proportion to their commitment to excellence, regardless of their chosen field of endeavor. One other teacher said, they would like to clone you, Nikki. Another said that they're prepared to adopt you. So Nikki says she's planning on majoring in biomedical engineering, I guess, as is Jesse. So as a musician turned teacher, I don't even really understand what all that entails. But it's very possible that maybe she's the one that's going to figure out how we could adopt a clone, right? So with that, I present to you Nikki Wojtania.
So I would like to begin by saying how truly honored I am to be here and how humbling of an experience this reception has been so far. So I find the 5 horizontal lines of the musical staff as an accurate metaphor for my life. Every individual musical note residing on the staff uniquely contributes to my life's symphony. So the array of notes found on the first staff line forms my foundation, my love for music. This love was born at the age of 6 in a small 1-story building across from my elementary school. Though initially my ever-increasing dedication, musical passion, and ambitions were rewarded with approving nods and the occasional sprinkle of candy, now 12 years later, music has provided so much more. As a violinist in orchestra and as a student in music theory, I am able to escape from book learning, freeing my mind from Shakespeare derivatives and my now 16th AP class. For years, music has provided an outlet for free thinking unconstrained by any laws of thermodynamics. Not only has the violin been able to release pressure from a ready-to-pop corkscrew, through music I have been able to develop and nurture my creativity. Rising up the arpeggio on the second line of the staff are my art and humanities classes that had enriched me as a person and added to my world perspective. Whatever I pursue in the future, these classes have provided me with the tools to become a well-informed, accomplished citizen who contributes to and meets the needs of a global society. My enduring fascination with the scientific and engineering universes compose the third line of the staff. Science for me has always been a lens that clarified and magnified the intriguing world around me. My unwavering curiosity has actually paved the way for my 3-year-long research in which I developed cellulose nanocrystal materials that could be adapted as novel anti-counterfeiting materials and environmentally friendly pigments to address pressing problems of fraud and water pollution. The next notes in my symphony are found on the 4th staff line, my lifelong career in the majestic sport of rhythmic gymnastics. During this career, I have had the honor of competing internationally as part of the national team. This sport, along with the performing arts of ballroom dancing, dance, and ballet, have transformed a shy girl into a confident, animated one. The final notes of my life's melody, which lie on the 5th staff line, are my invaluable experiences with French and service as a member and president of the French National Honor Society. However, this melody is not yet complete without a college education. Thus, for college, I am looking to either Harvard or MIT, and I hope to major in biomedical engineering and minor in business or economics with hopes of potentially founding a startup. Music, arts, and dance will continue to be central to my life, directly and indirectly. To be a great engineer, to really produce innovative products, and to advance the frontiers of science, you have to be creative. A creativity that can only stem from art. Art is fundamental to life. Art and engineering both involve making connections and tying things together in interesting and inventive ways. They scratch the same itch, the itch of making something new, something no one has ever seen or heard before. With that, I would like to thank all my teachers, counselors, and mentors, including Mr. Sato, who has really provided a new understanding, depth of understanding to the universal language of music, Miss Kathy King, Miss Randiker, Mr. Milbert, and all the other teachers for their constant encouragement and belief that I can always achieve a little more with a little more effort. My parents and family friends for their unrelenting support in any pursuit, and the most special of thanks to the Selection Committee, Communities Foundation of Texas, and Mr. and Mrs. O'Donnell, whose kindness has been such an inspiration, and whom I'm so grateful to have given me this scholarship, this opportunity to continue composing my life's melody. Thank you.
And now, Casey Muckley, AP Music Theory teacher at Colleyville Heritage High School, will introduce Justin Yen.
First, I'd like to echo my colleagues and say that I've played about this much into Justin's actual amazingness. And so I just want to recognize his family and sister that are here and all the things that they've done for him. Justin Yan is an excellent student at Colleyville Heritage High School. Justin is a National AP Scholar, a Principal Scholar, a National Merit Finalist, an accomplished swimmer, and has scored a 5 on every AP exam he has taken so far. He is currently set to graduate as the salutatorian of his senior class of 551 students. I had the privilege of having Justin in my AP Music Theory class during his sophomore year, so it's been a little while. At that time, I was considering restricting AP Music Theory to only juniors and seniors, but Justin was one of the sophomores that truly impressed me and caused me to change my mind. His energetic spirit, insightful questions, and diligent work ethic allowed him to achieve more than most of my upperclassmen. His success transferred to his AP exam, where he scored a 5 on all parts of the exam, which is usually really difficult to accomplish. Not only was Justin a dedicated student in my class, but his success is also attributed to his strong piano background. Justin has studied piano for 12 years, practicing the last 7 years under the tutelage of Professor John Owings, the piano division chair for Texas Christian University. At the end of the year, I have my students perform for each other in a recital, and that's where we got to see Justin show off his masterful talent and musicality. It was beautiful. Justin's other teachers are also impressed by his achievements and attitude in their classes, though they weren't able to be here with us today. His GT English teacher, Judy Houston, described him as high-achieving, industrious, and self-motivated. She went on to talk about his passion for the subject matter and how he is well-liked by his peers. His debate coach, Dave Houston, told me all about Justin's love of learning. He said, "Most kids who have Justin's grade point are all about the grade. Justin doesn't do that. He took debate because he thought it would help him with his critical thinking skills. He always asks really intelligent questions. He does things so that he can learn, not just because he's going to get a good grade out of it. I think that's one of the things that really separates him from other students." Truly, there is much more to Justin Yan than what I can fit in this brief introduction. He is an outstanding young man, one of the best students of my 8-year career. He has worked hard for all of his achievements, and I am thrilled to see him rewarded by this generous scholarship. It is with great honor and pride that I get to introduce to you Justin Yan.
Thank you, Mrs. Muckley. Out of all of the AP classes that I've taken, Mrs. Muckley's AP Music Theory class has been one of the most enriching classes of my high school career. One day might be a communal struggle to dictate melodies and harmonies as they were played, an eye-opening, generously funded trip to the TCU School of Music, or a hilarious attempt by instrumentalists to sight sing. Mrs. Muckley built up my relationship with music that started 18 years ago. Thank you, Mom, for listening to Chopin's Nocturnes while I was still a bundle of cells. He's still my favorite composer. And thank you, Mom and Dad, for encouraging me and then supporting me to study piano with my current piano teacher, Mr. John Owings, who has really changed my life. Studying piano with Mr. Owings has taught me that successfully interpreting music relies on 3 things: paying attention to detail, never losing sight of the big picture, and always asking, why? Each note and rest, like a brushstroke in a painting, is always drawn to serve a purpose, perhaps to continue a sweeping melodic line, to emphasize a triumphant conclusion, or to create a wistful harmony. Asking why the composer wrote the notes that they did in the specific order with the specific dynamics and rhythm provides a snapshot of his intentions. And being able to communicate these intentions to an audience so that they are swept by the music's emotional current is what gives me joy as a performer. Even though I plan to study computer science at Princeton University this fall, I believe that the lessons music has taught me are invaluable in any field. For instance, just last summer, I conducted research at Texas Tech University, where I spent my days observing a simulated molecule zoom across a screen and analyzing how it fragmented. Each atom was like a note, interacting with the atoms around it to achieve a purpose, the formation of new product molecules. But why did specific interactions seem to trigger spontaneous bond dissociation? Why does this experiment help us understand proteins? Why can't oxygen be more proactive and less reactive? Like how a musician must ask why to understand his music, a scientist must ask why to understand the natural world. Music thus has allowed me to pursue my passions at a deeper level. I plan to continue studying piano and plan to become involved in a community outreach program to expose more people to classical music. My experiences with the young mathletes at the local middle school, where I run weekly math workshops, remind me that the best use of a personal skill is to promote the lives of others with it. I see myself working in Princeton's Sound Lab to study the properties of sound and music with computers. Finally, I would like to thank Mr. and Mrs. O'Donnell, the Scholarship Committee, and the Communities Foundation of Texas for embodying this principle. I really appreciate them for seeing the immense value in arts education and for providing a model of generosity to aspire to. Thank you.